Welcome back, frenemies. Here we are at episode 75.
75.
We have 1 week in the books. Finally, real freaking football.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm the commish, Sean. To my left here, I have the always stunning
people.
Ryan Meckes, man of the people.
Yeah. Stunning.
And today, unfortunately, play some sad music. We're missing our host.
Yeah.
Over here to the right, he's joining us through the power of paper.
Yeah.
But he is been down with a sickness, and
he's not feeling well, guys. He had the sniffles, and
yeah.
we're in those times when you can't mess around with the sniffles. So he went in and got his test, and thank God he's negative.
He's negative for the COVID, but something's going around in there, so he's not going to give it to us.
Something's going around in there.
And then to our all the way left here, everybody said they loved Mike on the podcast, so I figured while I was printing out Chris, I might as well print out Mike. So you need to join the YouTube page if you want to really check out what these guys look like, because it's pretty ridiculous looking.
Yes.
Anyways, speaking of ridiculous, my main thing that I want to talk about in our fantasy reaction is where we kind of go over the news, mostly injury. But I just want to say an overall thing of don't overreact to week one. We said this last week. Now we're here. We got to check ourselves. Don't take those victory laps because things change. Just because they played an easy opponent doesn't mean... Oh, wait a second. To my left here, it looks like somebody might not be taking this to heart.
Dude, I'm just saying. I had a really good week one. I'm undefeated. Right now, nobody has beat me at all. And, I took a lot of flack for my decision-making process. But, I sit here right now on the top of the league. Sorry, Mike. But, yeah, I just had to prop myself up a little bit and give myself the attention I deserved.
So if you're on the podcast only, Ryan is wearing a crown that is definitely made for a costume for a 10-year-old.
No, it's a real English crown.
And then a Cruella de Vil all-feathered scarf. I don't even know what the proper term is for it.
Yeah, dude, I'm 1-0 and 1-0. 2 leagues. My defense came through for me.
Well, I want to just jump right into the injury stuff, and why don't we talk about how your team might be in trouble here. Le'Veon Bell on IR. That was the big news of today.
Yeah.
I'm interested what your thoughts are as he was one of your keepers.
Le'Veon, I'm just concerned about the whole deal. I'm very displeased right now. Listen, you have all off season to do these, right? You can do your stretches. They know what I'm saying. And then he gets out there and he pulls his hamstring. I'm like, dude, not impressed. So as far as Le'Veon, apparently he's on IR now, so we'll see what happens if he gets back in. If week one was any indication, though, temper expectations for Le'Veon.
My take on it is, we kind of talked about this before, but if you're in a 10-man league, you don't have an IR spot, maybe even in a 12-man league, he's droppable at this point. I mean, 8 weeks is the earliest that he can come back. There's some discussion of whether or not this is a for real thing because he just doesn't want to play for the stinky Jets, but that's where I am with Le'Veon Bell.
Isn't that right, Chris? Earlier, Chris came up with the idea that he's hurt, not injured, which is apparently jargon for I just don't want to play.
Yeah. So Le'Veon Bell not wanting to play? That never has happened before. But anyways, Marlon Mack, that's the next guy we want to bring up. We're going over some injuries here for you. This isn't going to be the full list, but just kind of some big hitters, especially for our teams.
Yes.
And Marlon Mack.
Daddy.
I mean, my heart goes out to the guy. He was playing a great game. Looks like he's torn his Achilles, and he's going to be out for the season now. The other side of that is that I have Jonathan Taylor, and I'm screaming inside like a little girl because now my third-round pick is, got the potential of that top 10 running back is now looking like a reality.
Yeah, anybody who drafted Jonathan Taylor, even before Marlon Mack's injury, was a genius. Yeah. He was by far out of DeAndre Swift.
I was a genius.
Even Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor was, I think most people would agree that he was probably the top guy. As far as a gifted runner, Clyde had his strengths as a pass catcher, but you will probably, they've already announced that he's the starting running back.
Yeah, that's
early.
To get that endorsement from Frank Reich is a huge thing. Yeah. Now, Hines was definitely involved. I think that he's a great pickup. I don't know if you'll see this before that point on the waiver wire, but he's a great guy to pick up. He's going to get all those dump-off passes. He kind of is going to play the Austin Eckler role for Phillip Rivers, but honestly, Jonathan Taylor was actually leading the team at one point in catches, in running back receiving yards. So that just shows me that he can not only be that 1 and 2 down back, but he's potentially going to be a full workhorse back.
Yeah.
Quick ones to go over here. George Kittle. They're not making it sound like it's too crazy serious. You're going to have to wait. At this point, you may already know what's going on with him. He sounds like he wants to maybe play through it.
Yeah, we've watched George Kittle. We know he's made of something else.
He's a man's man.
He's made out. He drinks testosterone. He doesn't even have to drink testosterone.
He sweats testosterone.
He sweats purest testosterone. He'll probably. I would not be shocked whatsoever if he's back, and I wouldn't hesitate to play him if he's back either.
Yep, and then Michael Thomas. I mean, we might have buried the lead here, but that was a big deal for a lot of you that had drafted him in the first round, and now he's dealing with a high ankle sprain. Like I said, keep checking the reports. We're going to be behind on this, but I think that he's going to attempt to play through it. It's going to hurt his play. It's probably going to suck because you have to start him. Yeah. My advice would be you either need to find somebody who thinks he'll be fine and trade him away, or if you can get him cheap, I'm perfectly fine with trading for him as well. I think he'll get over this, and in a couple weeks, we'll have old Michael Thomas back.
Yeah, high ankle sprains are notoriously tough to deal with, but he's young. He's a young dude. He'll bounce back. So if you can get a hold of him, by all means.
Yep. So that was our fantasy injury reaction segment here. We're gonna move on to our party question.
Ian, would you like to go to a party in my pants?
No, Brick.
All right, let's go.
All right. So for this week's party question, we're dealing with our sick host here, not being with us,
Very
and
sick.
It just brought me back to some of the worst sicknesses I've had.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, let's kind of talk about what that might have been. I'm going to start off here with the worst one that I think I've ever had.
Sorry.
And I feel very fortunate. I haven't had crazy, hospitalizations or anything like that.
Yeah.
But one that definitely hit me real hard. I was probably in high school, and the stomach flu was going around. I don't know if it had to do with the pigs or it had to do with the swines, who are kind of the same thing, but it was freaking bad, man. I got the cold chills, couldn't move, felt like I was in my bed and was becoming slowly paralyzed. No, it was more coming out the other end. Ooh. So disclaimer, this might be a kind of gross segment, but throwing up, let me just get this out there. For me, my family will know this, but I'm somebody that completely overreacts to throwing up. Like, my sisters in the other room heard me fall down in the bathroom because it was such a, took over my body, like I'm getting rid of a demon or something. And so I hate throwing up. I will do everything in my power to avoid throwing up. And I believe it all stems from that terrible stomach flu that I had.
Wow.
So I don't know, Ryan, does you have one that kind of hit you hard, or?
Honestly, what came to mind with this is at one time I had a sickness that lasted. It was probably a good 7 or 8 months straight, just coughing in class. This was before the era of, I guess we had online classes then, but I was on campus and it was really embarrassing. I was just, but let me tell you guys, there is a remedy for any sickness.
Here we go. I've heard this before.
Listen, guys, if you're not feeling well, go to the Dirty Buffalo.
Free plug for the Dirty Buffalo
if you
want to sponsor us.
There's some healing properties there. I don't understand it.
Yeah, the man came in that week and was like, I don't feel well, but I want to watch football with you guys. I'll keep my distance. I'll eat my wings. And then the next day said he was healed. And so maybe that's what Chris needs. We'll drop him off some wings maybe.
Maybe we could Uber eat some wings to Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
What do you think, Mike? I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on now. We're going to do this segment that everybody actually kind of really enjoyed. Ryan has questions. We're going to let him kind of ask me some questions. I don't have Chris to bounce off of here, but I'll see if I can do my best to kind of react to what Ryan kind of saw in week 1 and questions he might have.
Clearly, we know that Ryan has answers, too.
Yes. This is not to put down the fact that Ryan absolutely is the best fantasy player to ever play.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be wearing this if it weren't the case.
But even the best could use some help.
Even the best need. If you get too haughty, you get caught up in this, and then all of a sudden you lose your way.
Get too haughty, you end up in the potty. You had the word of the week this week. Haughty. I like it.
Haughty. Yes. You get haughty on the potty. Okay, so here's my thing. After watching this week, if there is a one weakness that Ryan has in fantasy, one weakness, I wouldn't even call it a weakness. It's more just like a idiosyncrasy. But I watch week 1 and I'm ready to drop everybody who didn't work out. I definitely I anger drop. I'm like, dude, you are a professional NFL player and you can't put out for me. Drop. So anyways,
on the flip side, I feel like you also would be like Malcolm Brown is the next Todd Gurley, and I need to go get him.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly. Both of those things that Sean said are 100% true. I checked the waivers as soon as I saw him going off, and of course he's owned because our league sucks and is so competitive, and you guys do your homework. All right, so here's my concern. The Jets as a team got slaughtered. The Browns as a team, I'm concerned with the slaughters here. And there's a lot of good fantasy players on the teams that got slaughtered. The Jets they looked like the Dolphins on their worst day.
Yeah.
With Gase at the helm. Like, I wouldn't do any better than you, Gase, coaching the Dolphins or the Jets.
I think he's might be part of the problem, but...
Man, the no risk-taking with that guy. But anyways... Sean, if Le'Veon comes back, is there any fantasy value here on the Jets? Am I overreacting in saying that I am staying far away from the Jets until they prove that they can be trusted?
So my initial reaction is that the Jets suck. I hate the Jets, and I'm glad they suck. Mm-hmm. But I think we've seen in the past you can find value on these really crappy teams because their defense is awful. The Bills' offense is not that good. Josh Allen, may have taken another step, but you saw the man fumble twice, and it didn't matter because that Jets team, especially the defense with losing Jamal Adams, is so bad. Yeah. So you can start up players against them, but I also think what that means is the scores are going to be so high that they're going to be coming back, and you're going to get a lot of that. Honestly, Jamison Crowder, I think, is one. I don't think it's an overreaction to think that he is going to be this involved, going to get this many targets. It might not result in a 69-yard touchdown. Okay. But, yes, those type of players, we're going to kind of have to wait and see who develops. Mm-hmm. I actually just had seen a report, something about that they put Denzel Mims on the IR as well.
Oh, my.
So I think they're giving up on the season. But regardless, there still will be ways to get fantasy value. It won't be high-level fantasy value. It might be bench players. But if you need a spot start, I think like a Jamison Crowder is who I would say. Okay.
So you're downgrading them, but you're not fully giving up. You're
I didn't have much hopes for them anyways. So
all the hype.
I liked Le'Veon, to be honest with you. I was all in, but
the dude didn't do his hammy stretches. Okay, the next team that got slaughtered on our list is the Browns. This is another team that, honestly, a lot of us were thinking, okay, Baker just needs a warm-up. They'll be okay after a while. But it wasn't even a game. It honestly, what came to mind when I was watching it is it looked like maybe a peewee or a middle school team taking on the high school team or something. It just looked like it wasn't even fair. Baker wasn't zippy with his passes. Yeah. What are your thoughts? What are your takeaways from Ravens-Browns?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'll be up front, and I did not see a lot of this game. Yeah. It came up on the red zone a few times, and it was basically only the Ravens scoring.
Yeah.
But yeah, from what I've going back watching some replays and stuff like that, I think that the Browns offense may just be bad again. I think that you need to temper the expectation because the Ravens defense is legit.
Yes.
And that is, although I think the Browns may not be, everybody was kind of picking them as the post-hype sleeper. We got it wrong last year, but they've had a offseason. They have the new coach who seems like he's getting it together. But if you want to go with the big hitters, you don't drop Odell Beckham. He got a lot of targets. I think he's worth hanging on to. It's one of those that this would be a holding pattern one where I'd want to find out what they do next week. I'm not quite sure who they play next week, but you gotta hang on to these guys that you spend a lot of draft capital on, because you don't know if it was just this first week opponent that is just. I mean, the Ravens defense could be the best defense in the NFL.
I mean, they could have played the Super Bowl team of 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess it is unfair, but it's just when looking at it, it looked like it wasn't even close. It wasn't even fair.
As far as the running backs go, there was no time in that backfield. They was just. I mean,
it's like a little homeschool private school team going against
Browns fans will love this.
Going against like Granby High School, public school, where like their fourth graders are full grown men. That's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah.
So
it's like Norfolk Christian playing Alabama.
Yes.
No.
Exactly.
Sorry, Norfolk Christian. I know we have some listeners over there, but
we have faith in you. All right, and then the last team, obviously, we're both Dolphins fans.
Yeah, look at you wearing the Dolphin colors.
Yeah. Man, we just look like the same old Dolphins. They say same old Lions. Looks like same old Dolphins. There was, again, we put together a team. I mean, are you sticking with Devontae Parker as legit threat? Like, what are your thoughts?
He re-aggravated that hamstring injury, which scares me to death.
Yeah.
I want to see a full week of healthy and productive Devontae Parker before I put him back in my lineup.
Okay.
I think Preston Williams, if Devontae Parker is out, is now a great option. Gesicki, I think, gets a bump up. The big thing for me as I watched that game was the offensive line is slightly improved, and the running game looked pretty good. But all that to say, I don't want any of them.
Yep.
It is going to be the New England of old, where you're going to have 3 or 4 guys that you will never be able to guess who the workhorse is. And that is just something I don't want. Like, I'm hands off.
I thought Jordan Howard was the guy.
I mean, Myles Gaskin was the best week one. He thought he looked good, and they gave him the ball, but that doesn't mean that next week Matt Breida is not going to have a 20-point game and he's going to be on the waiver wire. So I'm not going to mess with it.
Okay. And the last question, I want to bring up, obviously, I don't think it's fair to count out the Texans at all. They went against the Super Bowl champs. They put up a fight. It was a little disappointing to see that their offensive line couldn't hold the pocket together for Deshaun Watson. But are you buying Will Fuller as the next guy up, the next wide receiver one?
That's what we learned from that night was that he is definitely the go-to guy for Deshaun Watson. If he can stay healthy, I think that he's a solid wide receiver 2 option for you.
Yeah.
I don't see so much upside in this offense to where he can be that wide receiver 1 every week for you, but I think he's going to get a ton of targets. Deshaun Watson likes him, knows him, and Brandon Cooks is the glass man right now. He can't stay healthy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
If that's the case,
he's so talented too.
It's going to be a lot of Will Fuller. Yeah. And they'll have better matchups. The Chiefs' defense took on
a wrecking crew.
Yeah, they started to really develop in the end of the year. You kind of saw it through the Super Bowl and such that they were starting to shut people down. And so I think that was kind of an unfair matchup for them. We'll kind of see.
Yeah.
David Johnson, just as a side note, I'm excited about. I was hoping he did well. I didn't enjoy that it was against my team, David, but I'm excited for him.
Awesome.
But yep, that's what we got for you guys this week. Next week, hopefully, we're going to have our host back. We miss him dearly. And if you guys would stay tuned, check out YouTube and podcast. We're going to do the 757 podcast as well, which is where we talk about our local league, trash talk a little bit. I'm sure that King Ryan will talk about his fantasy championship that he's already won. And the other thing I want to mention is Twitter and Instagram. We're starting to pick up on there. We're trying to post more stuff. Give us some feedback. Let us know if you like the way that we're doing this. We're just trying to get as much information to you guys as quickly as possible, and Twitter and Instagram are the ways you can really get what we're doing there. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week. Deuces, Tim.
Deuces.